You get this? Okay.
Oh, I do get this. You guys doing good today? Hey, before we begin, I just want to let everybody know that if you haven't already heard, the reason that I'm here is because I know Ed from a very, very long time ago because I used to be the youth pastor here at Trinity Church. And so I want to say a huge thank you to Ed for over the decade that I've known you. You've been incredibly faithful. You've helped build into other people's lives, and I find that to be incredibly inspiring, not only for myself, but also selflessness for others. And so can we give a hand of applause for Ed? I originally, like I said, was a youth pastor because I thought that in God calling me to ministry, it was to be a pastor at a church. And so Trinity took the wild risk of hiring somebody with no experience and stuck them in a room. And I remember my first week here, there were 6 kids here, and they had nobody watching. And I just thought, this is either going to be the greatest thing in the world, or this is going to be an absolute crash and burn. And as Yannick, who used to be in my youth group, would tell you, it was definitely a little bit of both. But in doing so, I was able to learn a lot of experiences, and I went on to pastor other churches. And along the way, I realized that I have this secret superpower that it doesn't seem like everybody else has, and that's that I got really, really good at asking people for money. If my ministry or whatever was needing a bump for a vision or an event or a different way of doing things, I could find the right person, I could talk to them, and I could convince them to give money to this cause to be able to create X number of results. And I realized that after a certain amount of time, my skills in fundraising and in marketing were outperforming or outpacing the things that I could do within like the role of ministry. And so I stepped out and I began to help nonprofits develop their own ways of asking people for money, aka fundraising, as well as marketing, which is just simply building your audience to include people who really, really, really want to follow you. They want to know you. They already have whatever mission you have somewhere in their heart. They just don't have the right organization that they can partner with. So I got good at building organizations, audiences, and then converting those audiences into donors or into actions. God has blessed me tremendously. I've done things that I've never had the ambition or the thought that I could do. The legal side, I've been a part of passing over 50 laws across states in the United States. I've worked on Supreme Court cases. In terms of fundraising, I've been able to raise over $50 million for organizations around the country, many of them Christian organizations such as yourselves, some of them secular organizations that just had a good heart and a good cause. But what I've realized is that God gives certain people vision that I don't have. I don't have a vision to like build the next nonprofit, which in some ways was like a jolt of reality that I don't have the next church, the next nonprofit, the next thing that's really going to shape my culture. But I realized that there's plenty of people around me that do, and they need a lot of help. And I also realized the more money they had in their accounts to do that mission, the more that God was able to bless what they were doing. And so there's a lot of people in this room that you're not ever going to be in fundraising and marketing, and that's great. Just find somebody else who is good at it. But I had one of my mentors tell me that if you're in the nonprofit world, everybody is a fundraiser. So whether your job has chief development officer in it or you're something program specialist, just know that the Lord is going to put people in your life that you have the ability to use that relationship to help whatever cause you have. And so in those things that God has been able to allow me to do, I've seen some things that I just want to share my experience. They're super practical. What I can say is that there's a lot of people who have a very spiritual understanding of what your mission is or how to do it. And I would say listen to them and be encouraged by them. I've also learned that practicality and spirituality often go hand in hand. And so if I can just give you practical tools, tips, tricks in order to raise more money or to build your audience, then that all the more power to you. And so I'll go through a couple of those top line items that not a whole lot of people know. In fact, many people don't. And after that, we can ask as many questions as we want. Because I learned when I was sitting in your guys' seat, like the greatest wisdom I got was when I got to ask a question about my specific issue or problem and got that addressed in a more narrow manner. So we'll throw it out for questions after this. So I'll break it up into two things that I do, or that I work with nonprofits. The first one is fundraising. So fundraising, ability to earn bottom line. I've learned that you will do really good fundraising if you just get comfortable talking about money. Not even the CEOs of nonprofits are super comfortable talking about money to donors. And I was the exact same way. When I was here at Trinity, the most trouble I ever got in was not talking about money. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go. But the thing that really opened my eyes to being able to really pursue fundraising at a larger scale was when I had a best friend who sat down and he just started complaining about his day. And as he was complaining about his day, he told me how much money he made, which to me was like, you don't say that. You don't ever tell people how much money you make, even to like your best friend. And as he said it, he just went on the conversation like it was a nothing burger. And as we started talking through more about that, I realized money is not the same thing to me as it is to him. Money is simply a tool. If he's got a lot of tools, he can do a lot of things. If he has no money, he has no tools to do no things. It was not this like sacred cow or this special secret. It was just a tool. And so I've learned to spend a lot of time with him and adopt his mindset that money is just simply a tool. And I can talk about tools all day long. I can talk about marketing tools and different platforms and programs and things to turn $1 into $10 and $10 into $100. But it's just simply talking shop. It's talking tools. And I've learned that a lot of the major donors that I've interacted with, they own their own businesses, they own their own companies, and so they know the language of just talking about money. And I learned I don't have to say anything to impress these guys. I just have to ask them questions, and they'll just start talking. And so what I hope you guys have the ability to do is whether it's in your own your community or with your donors or the development, is just get comfortable talking about money. That certain money can equal results. And I know that for a lot of ministries, we think that Jesus equals results, which is absolutely true. But even Jesus put silver coins in the fish's mouths in order to get to people and able to empower them to minister. And so that's what I'm believing for you, is that in the conversations that you guys have, when you can talk about like, hey, we have X number of dollars that are going out the door this month, and we believe it is going to cause this amount of results in this form or fashion, more people are going to just be interested, and they're going to be more comfortable talking to you about those things. Because in fundraising, when you can ask somebody for a gift, you can say, if you say like, hey, I'm just looking for donations, that's one thing. But if you're able to say, hey, I'm looking for $10,000, that immediately lets them know you have a plan for this, and it's just not an open-ended question. You have a plan that this amount of money can cause X amount of results. And so a lot of the CEOs that I've been around with nonprofits, they are the best at talking with money, they're the worst. But I've learned that anybody can have a conversation to draw somebody into fundraising if they're comfortable talking about it. Second one is that I hate rejection. Like, it is the deepest pain that I can feel in my life if I talk to somebody or if I am interacting and I feel like they are rejecting me for like business reasons. I take it personal. Like, you can ask my wife. Like, she talks to me all the time. She's like, how on earth are you taking this personal? I'm like, well, it is personal. But I've learned that rejection is a fundamental, foundational part of fundraising. It's a foundational part of marketing. I remember I was blown away with this idea that in order to get one customer, I had to ask 100 people, which means I had to get 99 no's to get one. Conversion rates on some of my campaigns is like 1.5%, which means I am getting millions of no's before I get one of those yeses. But one of those yeses is worth $300,000, $400,000, so I'm willing to keep like going after those no's. I'm willing to keep going after those no's any way I can until I can get one of those yeses. And what I've learned is that, especially in like, does anybody here work with like major donors? Like, you have conversations with people who write the big checks? Nope, okay. Well, maybe one day you will. And I've learned that when I get like the no from them, the best thing I can do is to ask them for a referral. Hey, is there somebody you know in your circle that might really care about the mission that we're talking about? And I've learned that if they feel bad for saying no, they have no problem giving you somebody else's number to ease the pain and the burden. And the biggest check I've ever held in my hand came from a 10-minute conversation from a referral. Hey, do you have anybody that would care about this mission? I know you can't give right now. Yeah, here's this guy's number. 10 minutes into it, and we had the biggest single gift I've ever had in my life. And so if you're ever in a fundraising situation and you hate rejection like me, you can turn that rejection into a referral, and who knows what God has on the other end of that. So get comfortable talking about money, ask for referrals. And then the next one is my favorite, because this is what I personally love about fundraising, is that the relationship is more important than the donation. There are millions of good causes out there. There's no end. But your donors are not going to give to a million causes. They're going to give to the ones that they have relationship with. And I cannot tell you the amount of times I've seen nonprofits just let money go. Like, leave it on the floor and walk away from it because they care more about the donation than the relationship, or they don't know how to build the relationship. And so if you need help building a relationship with donors, that's one of the things I love doing, but just know that donors care about being people way more than they care about being a bank account for you. And so I've seen awesome, amazing relationships. Ed and David Funky, they've had that relationship that is able to fund God's kingdom and God's mission around Dallas because of that relationship. And so those are going to be things that you cannot just set to the side and put on autopilot. I think the second you put relationships on autopilot is the second you're going to start seeing them start walking out the door and start finding other places, because those people will have relationships with others. There's a blessing that I've had in my life that I've been able to be a youth pastor and see people like Yannick grow up and have their own kids and follow Jesus. And I recently got to meet a student that I had a really, really amazing time being their pastor for a short period of time, that they were able to follow Jesus, they were able to walk into ministry, and they were in a position where they were going to raise funds. I loved this person. This person was amazing. I also hadn't talked to this person in 10 years. So when this person hit me up to like catch up, I was overjoyed. Like, I could not wait to find out what God was doing in this person's life. And within like 45 seconds of it, it was a fundraising pitch, which I'm all for. Like, you can pitch me after 15 seconds and I'm fine, but you're probably not going to get the best gift if it's the fundraising pitch comes without the relationship. And so she got a gift. It's not as good of the gift that it probably would have happened, whereas there's another organization with an old friend from college who just called me up. He's like, hey, man, I just moved back in the area, accepted this job as chief development officer of this organization. Will you come hang out with me? We're going to do this event here in Dallas. All I did was just hang out with him and watch him. He didn't once ask me for money, but I got to drive around the city and see what his mission and his organization did, and it was incredible. He still has never asked me for money, but I've given more to that organization than any other ones outside of our church, just because I've been able to see what he was doing. The other thing, like, this is just like a hack. I got to bring my son with me. I have an 8-year-old son named Wilder, who I am desperate to like expose to God's kingdom beyond just like Sunday school and reading the Bible and going, seeing your normal life. And I got to bring my son along, and he got to see some of those amazing, incredible things. And so for me, if I get to involve the things I really care the most about, which is not my business, it's not even, it's not fundraising or marketing, it's my family, then there is no end to the things that I want to be able to fuel that mission and that organization with. And so that relationship produced way more results than just that simple ask. And I don't mean that any disrespect to the student, because the student's, she's learning. She is so great at so many things, and she's got a long runway ahead of her. But if you can build relationships with people where they can just watch and see what your mission does, then money is going to come whether you ask for it or not. So that's a little bit of the fundraising side. There's a lot of the nitty-gritty, the talk shop, the tools, the things that I'm able to help to do those things that might be used for your organization. Ask me away. I'll tell you whatever you want. But I've learned that fundraising is really incomplete without the second arm, which is marketing. And when I worked for a church, marketing was almost like a cuss word. It was, Jesus draws all men unto himself. And in my ignorance, I didn't realize like Jesus is one of the best marketers of all time. Because word of mouth is a form of marketing. And so if Jesus performs a miracle, guess what people are going to be talking about? They're going to be talking about that miracle. And so Jesus understood how to communicate at scale. He had to communicate at one person. And he even had these really great marketing strategies that I've actually like hacked, which one of the most confusing things theologically was when he told his disciples or he told his people he healed, don't tell anybody about this. Why? Why would you not tell anybody? Not realizing that is, in fact, one of the best communication strategies ever, especially if they're a bunch of teenagers. Don't tell anybody we are about to have one of the wildest, craziest church parties ever on February 13th at 7 p.m. at Trinity Church. Don't tell anybody. What do you think? They go out and tell everybody. And so I love the fact that marketing is just being able to find the people out there that actually really care about what you care about and be able to put you in front of them in a way that's compelling. And so the second part of what I do is really comes down to the marketing side of things. So marketing is a lot of things to a lot of different people. Some it's cuss words, some it's just like a strategy to be able to build different things, create stories, be able to put those stories in front of people. And so what I've learned in today's economy is that every single organization is a media organization. Whether you like it or not, we live in a world where media gets attention, and attention gets donations, or it gets volunteers, or it gets conversions, or it gets whatever you need it to be. And so being able to work within that media world is something that I found to be incredibly fruitful. You might think like, I don't have any clue how to be social media savvy or to know Google ads or how to run donation platforms, and you don't have to. You can just ask Brandy. Or BJ, sorry. You just ask BJ. He probably knows more about it than I do. But those things are things other people know, and just be a complete sponge around them. I didn't go for school for marketing, but like when I started working around one of my first vendors was a guy who was running a $300 million marketing ad for Roundup lawsuits, and so I got to learn everything from him. And so the things that I was able to take from those things were much smaller and granular in size, but they produced amazing, incredible results and able to find nonprofits, people who really care about you. And if you had a room full of 100 people and I told you 99 of them really care about your mission, you'd want to get in that room and you'd want to talk to them. If there was a room over and only 3 people cared about your mission, you'd probably still want to go to the 99. And so my job is to really help and find nonprofits to be able to market those. And so one of the best things you do is to create content regardless. The chief sin of social media is not producing bad things, it's producing no things. The thing about social media too is there's some organizations that social media is such a part of their strategy that they pour tons of effort, energy, and resources into it, and then there's some that it's just there. And that's okay if that's you. If it is just there, that's fine, because social media might not ever close a gift for you, but it definitely can stop you from getting a gift. Because if people find out what your mission is, they find out what you do, your open door, your first place that most people are going to stop is your Instagram profile, your Facebook, your YouTube, and they're going to be able to see with their eyes what you're doing or what you're not doing. So even if there is just content that gets no engagement, somebody is going to get on there and still see they posted 8 times that week. This person must really care about getting the word out, even if nobody's engaging with it. And so being able to just post is the best place to start. From there, there's a lot of places to get better. But the people that aren't doing social media at all, it's one of those places that is the easiest to get going. The second thing is you got to spend money to make money. There are nonprofits that like their entire budget is spent on programming and fundraising. And I'll just tell you right now that marketing is one of the most underutilized spends in most organizations, for organizations that may not want to grow or may be okay with the size they are. The example that I give to that is everybody in this room knows Coca-Cola. You're very familiar, and if anybody has never had a Coca-Cola, I'd be very interested to know what your life is like. So you'd think Coca-Cola doesn't need to spend any money getting their word out on who their product is or where you can buy it or what it tastes like. They've got that down pat. But of their annual budget, they still spend 25% of every single dollar they have goes to marketing. It's because they still know there is still opportunity to grow, and people still need to have their message in front of them. And so if the greatest organizations in the world have marketing budgets that will far surpass anything that you guys will ever have, just know that every dollar that you do put towards marketing can have an amazing return on results. It can have a return on results in terms of the donors that you get, in terms of the attention, in terms of the people that care about you, in terms of whatever your mission is. If you're looking for people that you actually need to minister to, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of pro-life nonprofits, and they need to find women who are in a world of pain, that have their entire world flipped upside down, and they need to find those people really quickly and being able to get them in a place where God can be able to affect them. So the way to connect them through those was a lot of marketing, and we had to spend a lot of money to find them. But with each time we found one of those women who are facing the crisis that I can't even imagine, we were able to see real results, literally lives saved. Like, it's one of the only times I've been able to say, like, marketing saved lives. But I was able to see how much money it costs to find one of those people. And sometimes it's just not cheap, but the results are real and the results are there. The last thing that I just have to say is to just capture big moments. Everybody in this room has a camera attached to this, and we have this idea, me especially, that when we're supposed to give, we don't want our right hand to know what our left hand is doing. But at the same time, your donors desperately want to know the real results you have. They want to know what you're doing because they've worked hard for whatever reason, however they've earned their living in their life. They want to make sure that that money has real results for people they may not ever get a chance to meet. And in order to capture those stories, it just takes hitting record as it's going on. You can hire crews to come out to big events and capture those big moments. That's great. But just never be afraid of just capturing a moment, whether it's in the current moment or right after it. Just film it. Just have somebody who's had a real experience be able to talk about it. One of my favorite documentaries of all time has this scene that I call pure magic because it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. That the cameras just happened to be rolling at the right time and caught something that no documentary crew could ever plan for. And it was just because cameras were rolling. And so there are things that are going to happen within your organization that if you can turn into small stories and post them on social media, send them to donors, put them behind paywalls or whatever you need, you are going to be able to have people who are excited about the same thing you are excited about. I guarantee you every single person in this room has been excited by something they've seen on social media at some point. And you have the ability to find the same thing because many of you guys are on the front lines of what the mission and what the causes are. My biggest regret being a youth pastor was I just didn't share the cool things that was going on. And now that I have a kid who's one day going to be in youth ministry, I desperately want to find out everything that happened on Sunday at church, everything that's going to go on Wednesday. I want to know because he's probably not going to be the one who tells me. But somebody else could. And when I give money to my church and I know that my son is being cared after and looked after spiritually in times and opportunities that I won't be able to see, it just makes me more motivated to be a part of things and to give. And so every single one of you guys can turn into a content creator. If you guys have a social media manager on your team, they probably already bugged you about this. But as somebody who's overseen over 7 million followers across platforms, I can tell you that the greatest pieces of content I've ever produced were not things we ever planned. It was things somebody just happened to capture in a once-in-a-lifetime moment, and we were able to make a deal about it. I'll close with this. One of my good friends owns a company who I jumped online and I saw that one of their competitors made some very poor choices with one of their clients. And I just sent him the text. I said, hey, this just happened. It's going viral. You might have a chance to do some goodwill marketing. This guy turned that like really terrible experience between his competitor and their client into one of probably the biggest boost they've ever had in terms of views, in terms of attention, in terms of the things that he's able to now harvest people's attention and draw them into his mission because of something really bad that somebody else did over there. So the last thing I'll say is that you guys have the secret power of seeing somebody's hurt and pain or seeing somebody's situation to change. And if you can find the worst situation and just make a small deal or a small story about it, there's no end to where God can take that story to other people. So with that said, there's a lot of things that I have left out because I wanted to be respectful of the time. And as I told Ed, I am so good at talking for 20 minutes. I'm mildly good at talking for 30 minutes. And so I don't know, Ed, what time do we have to get out of here?
We've got a few minutes if you'd like to get some questions.
Okay.
I've got one for you.
Sure, go for it.
How do we use AI? I mean, my highlight of my high school years, I had an electric typewriter. And not to say my age or anything, but now AI is becoming such important. Is there any way as a missions, we work mostly with small missions, and sometimes there's a leader or two and then a few volunteers. Sometimes we might have 6 or 8 in our ministry. But how can we utilize AI to promote, market, and even fundraise? Is there a way to do that?
Absolutely. I'll give you 2, but I'll tell you right now, anybody who says they know everything about AI is a straight up liar because AI is literally coming out with things every single week. I was just talking to Cameron before this about a brand new AI tool that just dropped like 2 weeks ago that's literally game changer. And I'm still learning how to use it. Cameron's still learning how to use it. I'm sure you've learned a little bit about it, but okay, yeah. So just know like now is the time for you to jump in and learn because everybody is learning with you, including like the big dogs at the top. Like one of my friends is his caseload is 300 million for Hillsdale College. He's learning the same things I'm learning, and we're just trying to figure it out together. So there's 2 AI tools I'll throw out there, and I'll tell you how it can happen. But I'll just tell you this. The biggest winners of the AI race are going to be small nonprofits. The big ones, they've got teams to do that. They got money that they can build a team of 18 people to run their social media accounts. But the ways that you can scale that to like 1-person teams, 2-people teams is unreal. So the 2 tools I'd say is, first one is called Claude Design. If you guys haven't gotten onto Claude, it's destroying ChatGPT. I officially made the move I broke up with ChatGPT last week and exported you can export your entire conversation history into Claude, and so I did that. And Claude Design essentially is like, it's like your multimedia specialist. You can get it to build a website. You can get it to create AI bots. You can get it to, Cameron was just sharing me, it's now got graphic design capabilities that I have to go home today and learn. But regardless, Claude is what I would use for all things creative. Open it up. There's like a how-to introduction. Go through all of it. Don't skip a single bit. Because even as somebody who knows nothing about programming or computer languages, I now know how to like program computer languages just because Claude tells me how to do it. I tell Claude, I want this problem solved, and it tells me how to solve the problem. I want to create this, and it just creates it for me. Okay, but I want to change this. Well, then it changes it for me. So Claude Design is the first one that I would use for creating things. I would not use ChatGPT anymore. They're falling behind, and I just haven't seen enough things that, make me excited about it. The second one is actually Facebook ads, Meta ads. I don't know if any of you guys have any concern to run ads, but where I used to charge a client, I could charge a client $30,000 to run their ads. Now I have to charge them maybe $100 because Facebook Meta can create your ads, it can find your audience, and it can deliver results in a way that like most marketers are looking at their jobs going, like I better find something else that I'm really good at, or else nobody's gonna be paying me for ads. And so if you need help with Facebook ads, I can help walk you through it, but there's less of a need for somebody external to do it, and you can trust some of the things that is going the direction for Facebook ads. I will say this though, the one thing Facebook ads is not as good for is targeting. Basically, targeting is knowing which audiences to put your ads in front of. There's a lot of good data that you can get from outside vendors on targeting the right people with those ads. So creative, it's good. Conversions, it's good. Branding, it's not that great. Targeting, it's not that great. So I would look at Facebook ads, and I would look at Cloud Design. Yes?
Are those free programs, are they paid programs? How much should we pay?
Great question. Cloud Design is $9 for an individual user a month. So yeah, I thought I was getting ready to pay like hundreds a month, and it was like $9, I can do this. So that's Cloud Design. I think you need like the pro or the business account, and if you have teams, obviously that's a different price. Facebook ads is just whatever your ad spend is. So if you have a budget of $500, well then it's $500. The ad account is free, the work is free, but you just have your ad spend on top of that. Yes?
I work more on like the tangible side with more in-kind donors,
Mm-hmm.
but I do support our development director in a lot of like trying to create more monthly donors as the program director for our steakhouse.
Yeah.
But one of the things I feel like I would love some clarity about is what are some tangible skills or tools on how to target in-kind donors to become monetary donors or monthly donors?
I love this. I've just launched a major campaign that we think is super successful. I can walk you through a couple steps, but the key thing is you have to find out who's actually interested and who's not. So how many people are on your email subscription list? 2,200, okay. So what I would do, that's a little bit of smaller to get like a full result, but you can at least get some. I would send out a survey. What we did is we sent out a survey that said, hey, are you interested in giving monthly? Are you interested in giving a major gift? Are you interested in giving no gift ever? Are you interested in getting less emails? As soon as I got that, we sent our first initial list out to 5,000 emails. We couldn't call them all for days because we just found out there's people out there that we haven't gotten the right ask in front of, and they just told us they're interested. And so that survey tool is the first thing to that list to find out like who just said, I want to do this. And if you have like 0, well, that tells you something about your audience that you're now able to do some other actions on, which is maybe cultivate them more about what the program costs or things like that. But that was like the trick that was always sitting there that allowed us to like immediately jump on the phone. And then there was other steps in that funnel that we got to increase their gift all the way up to a major gift. I don't know if you guys use like wealth screening tools. Okay. Great. Then wealth screening tools are like, they get you in the right direction. They're not as great as everybody's going to tell you they are, but they at least get you to like an understandable place that some of these are going to be correct, some of them aren't. So, yeah.
So a lot of the more donors that I would interact with are either going to be service providers, so people who are like donating an electrician service,
Interesting.
or something like that, because we operate a
Yeah.
residential home, or somebody who is going on our Amazon wish list and
Yep.
donating toilet paper.
Mhm.
How do I move them into a financial monetary donor?
That's even easier.
Getting a service.
Exactly. So, how many of those do you have?
I'd probably say 50 to 100.
50 to 100. So that's enough that I wouldn't be sending out blast emails. I would be like inviting them to personal like events at the house or something. Like I'm assuming that they have at least like they've seen what you guys do. If they haven't ever seen what you do, I would invite them into an environment where they are able to watch what is going on or the changes happen. I know if it's women's homes, that might be a little. So if they're not able to, then I would create a lot of digital stories where you can send them. So like if it was an electrician, I would create a digital story of person coming in, getting services and their life changed afterwards, I would text that to that person. Hey, Frank, I know you did lighting in the house the other day. Just want to let you know that this is one of the women who is now living an awesome, amazing, stable life, and you played a part in that, and I just want to say thank you. If I send like 2 or 3 of those to them, then I'm able to say, hey, by the way, we have the next phase, next project, whatever you want to raise money around. And I want you to be a part of this in a deeper way. Could we have a conversation about that? And so I would use stories into like an invitation to have a conversation.
Any quick pointers on juicing up survey responded rate?
A lot of quick pointers. They get hyper technical, and so like I'm sure I could talk all day long about email delivery platforms and how to fix reputation rates and things like that. So if we want to talk afterwards, I can figure out like what tools you're using and what tools I would use to boost results out of that. But I guarantee you nobody here cares about DMARC protocols. So I know DMARC, like I was coming here today to learn about DMARC protocols, you know? He's not going to talk about it. Yeah, bummer. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
How much is too much in communicating on fundraising? You know, when we're having a luncheon here, I send out 3 emails, and I wonder if that's too much. But I like to keep us what's about to happen in mind because everybody's so busy.
Yeah.
If I needed to raise money from, for a project, I mean, how much is too much? 1 email, 10 emails? How much is too much?
Excellent question. And I'd say that every organization is slightly different, which means that your data gives you that answer. So I would if I were going to see how many emails are too much, I would look at open rates are kind of terrible metric, but they're at least a clue. Second thing I was look through click-through rates. So if you're sending 10 emails and I start seeing the open rates drop off, that's one thing. That means people are stopped really caring about email 5. I need to jettison the next 5 that I had planned. If I see the click-through rates drop off, then I'm going to say people who actually they gave in the first 3 emails. Even though people opened afterwards, they didn't give in the last 7 emails. So I'm going to get rid of those 7. I'm going to send 3. And I'm going to make them super urgent, super important, and with a deadline. So I would have to see data on that, but I'll tell you that
10% rule, you got 100% of contact, but 10% are going to do the majority.
Yep,
And that's where you need to really focus, is your 10%.
exactly.
The rest are just a waste of your time for now.
I wouldn't say waste your time, but I've learned that people are going to give, and I'm not going to be able to convince them past a certain point. I've already got the ones who are going to give, and the rest of them are going to have another opportunity to give in the future, but it's not going to be this time. I've really gotten in a lot of trouble by sending like too many emails, and from there your email reputation goes in, emails go to spam, and it's a whole thing after that. So yeah, I would look at, see when people give. Most people are going to give in the first one, maybe 2, maybe 3, but after that, like really see who's giving after that. And don't be afraid of like making it urgent. Like, I need you to give today for this reason, for this cause, and have like a artificial reason why. Even though it's other people on the other end, you can create real artificial reasons for the urgency to give, and so that helps bump that up. Yeah.
3 questions.
Sure.
Did I understand you to say you have 7 million followers?
I manage 7 million followers. They're not my followers. No, I manage. Yeah, no.
We have a guy before us.
No. I manage other people's accounts who combined all have over 7 million followers.
Second question. Is there any ratio in fund giving of how many times you ask versus how many times you say thank you, how many times you ask,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah? What are the ratios?
So what I do, the ratio is I always have a 7-to-1 ratio, where 7 times somebody is hearing something good, like I'm telling or giving them something of value, I'm not asking them for anything. I'm not even asking them to follow or to click this or to download. I'm just like, hey, this is important. I want to make sure you see this. And then once out of those 7 times, it's an ask. Hey, I need supplies from a mom who just came in, or hey, I need this. And so that's the best ratio that I've seen results with.
And you talked about building relationship. Do you see that Claude, Gemini, AI
Oh. ChatGPT actually had to roll this back. I forget that there was like an actual name for it, but it was like they were gassing you up for the most ridiculous things. Like I asked it one time, I was like, hey, I have to write a very, very professional but angry email to this client. So you need it. And it was like, oh, good job for doing that. You are so wise and amazing. Like, does everybody know how incredible you are for even thinking about this? I was like, what are you doing? Like, I know what I need to do. I'm not that special for realizing that. So they reflect what works, and what works is people liking you. So that's what like the weakness of AI is they may want you to like it more than actually give you like the real results. And so in all my chat, I give them like, give me the real answer, like make sure it is accurate as according to all measure. Don't worry about whether I like you back, essentially. So yeah, it likes you more than it's gonna tell you the wrong thing just to get it, you like it. Yeah, hopefully they fix that. I don't know. Anything else? Going once, going twice? Ed, here you go.